Hey, what's up guys, MKBHD here, and this is the Xaomi Mi Mix 3. You may have heard of it. It's not really like anything else I've seen in a while. Why, you may ask? I mean, it's really addicting. Like, come on. Anyway, let's get into it. So the Mi Mix. You may remember that name from the first Mi Mix video I did 2 years ago that kind of blew up. It was one of the first bezel-less phones. Or you may have picked up that this won my runner-up for the Best Design Award in 2018. Now I want to be perfectly clear, this isn't a review of the whole phone. This is just a deeper look in another notch avoidance technique that's become one of my favorites. So on this race to bezel-less phones, we have the standard notch, everyone knows it. We have the teardrop notch. We have the infamous bathtub. We have the selfie pop-up. We have the motorized chassis. And now we have this, the manual slider. And I gotta be honest, this is one of my favorite ways to do it. So the slide motion is spring-loaded as you'd expect, so it kind of snaps into place. And that's what makes it click, and that's what makes it this super addicting motion. And also every time you do it with the volume on, you get this sound effect and a lighting effect along the sides of the display where it automatically opens the front-facing camera. And then when you close it, as you can see, it closes the camera. And that makes perfect sense because that's really the only thing housed in this particular slider. The back-facing camera is already around the back, available anytime. And there's no face unlock on this phone, so no IR blaster. It has a fingerprint reader on the back already. So basically the only thing you need the slider for that you can't fit in this already tiny top bezel is the dual front-facing cameras. And yes, that is an LED flash for your low light selfies. And actually the only thing I can get the second front-facing camera to work with is selfie portrait mode. So it's not like a second wide angle front-facing camera or anything crazy or useful like that, but basically just another sensor for better depth detection. So like I said, this race for the apparently ideal bezel-less smartphone of the future has spawned some of the most interesting stuff. Doing it this way has its own set of pros and cons. The upside of being a manual slider, of course, instead of a motorized one, means no motors, so a lesser chance at failure. It's just springs, and I'm pretty sure this motion back and forth is guaranteed for hundreds of thousands of repetitions. Whereas a tiny motor activated by software, I can't be quite so sure. And I'll also say the satisfaction of this clickiness, this addicting feel, it's not the only phone that slides like this, but this is definitely the most 2019 a slider can get. The downside though is it still is a moving part. Most smartphones have 0 moving parts, so the chance of failure is greater than 0, and obviously it will increase with any sort of debris or anything that might get into this mechanism. You gotta be careful about that. Although I guess with this one, it's not the end of the world, because if it fails, you're just losing your front-facing cameras, and some people might not really take that many selfies anyway, so if you're that person, maybe it doesn't matter as much to you. Also, another downside would be cases for this phone is probably not gonna get that many, and not just because it's a slider, but more because it's just not as popular of a line of phones. But there is one that Xiaomi makes that comes in the box, which is cool, and it works perfectly. The bottom is opened up, so the slider mechanism works perfect, and it's more grippy than glass. So if that's your style, then you're in luck. And actually, that brings up one of the more under-recognized things about this phone. This is a really slick phone. It's really slippery, and there are other really slippery phones, but that matters more with this one. See, there was another slider phone a couple years ago. This is called the BlackBerry Priv. Yes, I still have mine. And this was also a vertical slider, same mechanism with the thin display at the front and then the rest of the components in the back, still spring-loaded, and of course it had a full-on physical keyboard. So then what they did with the back of this phone is they made it super grippy. It's this tacky, rubberized finish. Like, this is literally the grippiest phone I own. And that made a lot of sense to do, because to slide the phone open and close, you need a lot of moving around the phone in your hands. So to have a grippy phone, to be able to do that, just felt more secure that way. But this Mi Mix 3 is basically all mirror glass, and it's not as dramatic of a slide as the full physical keyboard, but that's a little more dangerous in the hand if you have such a slippery back. And then of course it's double dangerous because glass breaks. So the slippery back is a legit downside, it's a con here, but maybe other phones that do this in the future will use different materials or different finishes. Other than that though, it's just a fascinating idea that you can buy into right now if you want. Again, it's a moving part, and I'm pretty sure a single grain of sand or just enough debris getting in here would eventually become a problem. It's hard to show on camera, but if you look at the right angle, you can actually see light passing through the inside of this phone, which is kind of scary. Oh, and also another thing I found interesting about Mi Mix 3, obviously you don't need 2 earpieces, but it kind of looks like this phone does have that. It looks like the bottom one in the thicker part of the phone is the real earpiece, and the top part is just this grill that's just a hollow pass-through. So when you slide it up, it passes right through, which is clever, and it makes sense. Xiaomi doesn't use the earpiece as a second speaker anyway, so it's not used that much. It's also 6.4-inch OLED display, 3200 milliamp hour battery, Snapdragon 845, 6 gigs of RAM, dual front-facing and dual rear-facing cameras. I mean, it's a solid phone. Again, it's not a review, but if you do want to buy into this idea now, it's not a horrible idea. You can do it. But what do you think of the whole slider thing? Should more phones be doing this, but with better materials maybe? I don't hate it. Let me know what you think. Also, let me know what you think of these shorter but more like regular topical videos. I think they're a lot of fun. Either way, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.